The cars carrying the rich bitches, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Tea Party members, and other members of selected groups finally have finished their journeys of professional neglect and betrayal. And their passengers have arrived at a location in the middle of a city that for the longest time has been dying because hope has forgotten where poor citizens live. The snow present in the surrounding country only miles away has disappeared as each car entered the city. Jackets that were worn are suddenly discarded, making the unusual more common than before. It might not be winter, but it is sure not spring. The final location of their journey is nondescript. It is simply flat ground with no building in sight. But if you look closer, you will see stairs that lead downward into the ground. And despite how many cars might have arrived, there is a set of stairs for each group. The darkness of the descent slowly takes focus when everyone invited slowly moves into a circle on the bottom floor. The Black Caucus members leering at the Triple K as Tea Partiers gaze at the liberal elite. Entertainers from every media now mingle in their respective groups. People you thought good on screen or performing in song are now associating with people you have long ago lost respect for, but their paychecks help to create the hate that exists in our world today. Get rich, buy a foundation, and people will donate to you for the rest of your lives. Pick a few people you can showcase their living while the rest of the world dies. It's not your fault. Not enough money to go around. But the floor of this level withholds judgment against those that enter. Its only hostage that it brought here against its will is our American flag that once flew over Washington D.C. and is resting in the middle of the circle. An apple pie, though, is also present as it sits in the middle of the flag with a knife and fork beside it. But there is a chasm of fire surrounding it, separating the pie and flag from the participants, dissecting the circle into parts. The sight of the pie, though, is so appeasing to the participants standing around that it makes them salivate. But even if the pie were cut equally, would everyone get a fair share? Everyone looking imagines that if they could possess the nation's honor represented in the flag and the apple pie that represents prosperity, they could be more equal than the rest. Unfortunately, each participant had a different piece of a bridge that could traverse the chasm. One group had the nails, while another held the hammer. One had the wood, while another held the saw. Screws were also present, as well as ropes and drills. Did they need to work together, or could they just take the material they needed? The Black Caucus participants felt they needed an advantage, maybe by giving them an extra side of equipment. The Jewish contingent felt that they should be given the opportunity of going first. But there was no trust between the participants. Do I give you my saw, or I do the sawing myself? A woman's caucus cried out for party in constructing a bridge, but didn't feel they needed to earn the ability. Give us our flag and pie, and we will be happy. Other celebrity participants simply eyeballed the chasm and wondered, do we need a bridge, or could we jump across the chasm? After all, if we arrived at the pie first, we could take what we wanted. Unfortunately, even wonder turned to fear as they thought again at their idea. But then after we ate our fill of the American dream, would someone be there to help us back? Others, though, who also had building materials that could help construct the bridge, opted instead to not participate at all, and in the event the others were successful in bridging the gap, then they would simply protest until they were given their fair share. The NAACP and European American Unity and Rights Organization had a party where they brought righteousness and superiority. Equality, integrity, and potential were never invited. The Black Panthers and KKK wished to bring their hate, but found there was already abundance present. Regardless of alliance and level of hate, though, the representatives from several gatherings jockeying for position were allowed to speak out their differences. And the first to the human stage, with the fiery chasm in front of him, was the cowboy singer as he called out, "I'll treat all the wounded warriors you got. We don't need to negotiate no peace. If we have another war, I will write another song. But leave my money alone. It is not meant for no poor, because then we would not have any soldiers to fight." And the man backs up, trying as he can to put his part of the ladder together, but continues his spiel. "I will simply buy their foreclosures as they go off to war. Makes my day and allows me more pretense at social conscience." But this Tea Party man is not alone in his dereliction of duty, as the movie star man standing near him pretends to pursue his own effort to reach the pie. Fortunately for him, he does not have to try very hard, because he already has grabbed a chunk of it in his mind. And to help any of these other participants would give them opportunity to be richer than he was. My ladder to continued riches is Darfur, and if I yell loud enough to the United Nations, they will think I care. But even if they don't, my celebrity buddies will back me up as I go home to count my money. People will watch my movies and think of how good a person I am. Maybe England will make me a lord, or the Vatican will make me a saint, but I will not give my country enough money to create a job or build a bridge. I will root for the left and social change, because if I don't, my movies will sit on the shelves. But my allegiance is not with the poor, because all that would do is take away my hype. If America didn't have any poor, then how could I prove my worth to them? Then at that moment, the prominent politician standing next to him sings the same song. I got the best part-time job a man can have. I was a president of the United States, and at one time I was simply a lowly millionaire, but now I treasure many times that, and people give it to me free. He goes on to elaborate in his vision. I watched hundreds of thousands of people wash out to sea. Then I took the donations the Americans gave us and created resorts for the wealthy where the poor used to live. Yes, I created jobs, but none of them was in the field of early warning for tsunamis that would have saved many a life, because the international community didn't think it profitable. I even decided to build some houses on the beach where some houses used to be. But that shouldn't bother me, because if another tsunami comes this way, I will have more deaths to mourn and more donations to spend. And knowing the poor is what I do best. For while I was in office, I freely took the jobs away from some Americans and made them poor, while I gave these same jobs to other Americans to make them less poor, but appreciate me. My conscience is clear, my family is cared for, and I have no problem sleeping at night, because the good people I worked for built me a mansion to live in, but I still pretend to work for the poor. While at the same time, a black man standing to his left literally sings another tune, because his billions have been made on the backs of his black brothers and sisters buying his songs about social injustice. He is not colorblind, because he knows what color benefits him. and he holds out opportunity like a dog's treat to garner affection. Unfortunately, it's not a gesture in creating freedom for all, as he likes to espouse, but rather a gesture that says to the pretty few to join their small group. The poor will always follow. I can always live among the poor if my apartment is on the top of a 30-story building and I have someone else to walk my dog. The fire burns brighter where these four men stand, because they were brought here to participate, not to just stand aloof. But even the haters can't see their wrongs, unshared potential, and simple greed. Entrepreneurs are another way to say rich bastards that enslaves dreams. Some of the participants at this point have decided to throw some poor people into the fires to quench the fire's thirst, but were perplexed when their sacrifices crawled out unharmed, not even a hair singed. But now these poor look at their supposed benefactors through a different light. And these people of supposedly no value were not brought with the participants for their comeuppance, but were the vulnerable innocent who make up every city and town in every state of the United States. So they were already available for abuse. The fire still burnt, but now it was only an illusion to some, while still hot for others. The fire in actuality released the poor from hypocrisy established by the rich and gave them a new feeling in their souls. Our hearts belong to you until the day you showed your disregard for us. What was much worse, though, than a new sentiment on a poor person's part and totally offensive to the rich, was that each person thrown to their deaths and then miraculously survived was observed crawling out of the chasm, grasping a scrap of an American flag, and to top that off, they were also holding on to a big piece of apple pie. A senseless anger grew among the invited participants. Why them and not me?